Ian Lindsay of Lindsay and Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment, and project development real estate. Ian has received several awards recognizing his exceptional community commitment locally, as well as awards for outstanding performance and achievement from both RE/MAX International and the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.
Peter and his dog Gracie ran through fields so wide, with dreams in their pockets and stars as their guide. Every day's an adventure under the open sky. In their world of stories, time just flies by.
Peter and Gracie's Dashwood Fire Station adventure. The morning sun peeked through Peter's bedroom window, casting a warm golden glow across his firefighter-themed bedspread. His alarm clock hadn't even rung yet, but Peter was already wide awake, too excited to sleep. Today wasn't just any ordinary day. It was the day he and his beloved American Eskimo dog, Gracie, were going to visit the Dashwood Fire Station. Peter slipped out of bed and tiptoed across his room, careful not to wake anyone else in the house. Gracie's fluffy white head popped up from her cozy bed in the corner, her pointed ears perking up at the sight of her young master awake so early. Her tail started wagging immediately, creating a soft, swooshing sound against the bed. "Shh, Gracie," Peter whispered, kneeling down to scratch behind her ears, her absolute favorite spot. "We have to be quiet. It's still early." Gracie responded by gently licking his hand, her tail continuing to wag with enthusiasm. Her pure white fur was as soft as fresh snow, and in the early morning light, she looked like she was glowing. Peter had received Gracie as a birthday gift last year, and since then, they'd become inseparable. She was more than just a pet. She was his best friend and his partner in all sorts of adventures. Whether they were exploring the backyard, building blanket forts in the living room, or snuggling together during story time, Gracie was always by Peter's side. Unable to contain his excitement any longer, Peter went to the dresser and pulled out the clothes he had carefully chosen for the night before, his favorite red T-shirt because fire trucks are red, and his most comfortable jeans, his lucky socks with the little Dalmatians on them, and he got dressed. He could hear his parents starting to stir in the room down the hall. "Peter, you're up early, sweetheart," Mom said, poking her head into his room. She was already dressed for the day in her usual work attire, but she had taken the morning off specifically for Peter's fire station visit. "I couldn't sleep anymore, Mom. I'm too excited." Peter bounced on his toes, making Gracie bark softly in response to his enthusiasm. "Can we have breakfast now, please?" Mom laughed. "Of course we can. Let's get some food in both of you before the big adventure." In the kitchen, Dad was already making pancakes, and not just any pancakes, but his special fire truck-shaped pancakes that only he made for very special occasions. The sweet smell of maple syrup filled the air, mixing with the rich aroma of fresh coffee that Dad always needed to start his day. "Where's my junior firefighter?" Dad called out as Peter and Gracie entered the kitchen. "Hey, ready for your big day?" Peter nodded while helping Mom fill Gracie's food bowl with her breakfast. "Do you think they'll let me slide down the fire pole, Dad, and see all the fire trucks, and maybe even turn on a siren?" "Whoa, slow down there, Chief," Dad chuckled, flipping a perfectly golden pancake onto his plate. "I'm sure Chief Nick has lots of exciting things planned for your visit. After all, it's not every day that the winner of the school's fire prevention poster contest gets a private tour." Peter beamed with pride as he remembered the poster. He'd worked really hard on it, drawing a detailed scene of a family practicing their fire escape plan with their pet. It even included proper meeting points and smoke detectors in the drawing. His teacher had been so impressed that she submitted it to the Fire Prevention Week contest, and it won first prize. As they ate breakfast, Peter could hardly sit still in his chair. Even Gracie seemed to sense the excitement of the day ahead, finishing her breakfast in record time and sitting alertly by Peter's side, her dark eyes watching hopefully for any stray bits of pancake that might fall her way. "Now remember," Mom said as she helped Peter clean sticky maple syrup off his hands, "this is a working fire station. We need to be respectful and follow all of Chief Nick's instructions. And that goes for both of you," she added, giving Gracie a meaningful look. The dog tilted her head to one side as if promising to be on her very best behavior. It was time to go. Peter could hardly contain his excitement as he bounced up and down in the back seat of his mom's car. Gracie sat next to him, her tail wagging with eager anticipation. Even though they had driven past the fire station many times, today felt different. Today they were going to see what was inside. The streets were quiet early in the morning, with just a few people walking their dogs or hurrying to work. "Look, Gracie," Peter pointed out the window as they turned a corner. There it was, the impressive building with its shiny red doors and the proud Dashwood Fire Station sign above them. The morning sun made the chrome on the fire trucks gleam like mirrors through the station's open bay doors. The parking lot had several cars in it, the personal vehicles of the firefighters who were currently on duty. Mom pulled into a visitor spot, and Peter could see Chief Nick standing outside waiting for them. He was wearing his navy blue uniform with shiny silver badges, and his warm smile was visible even beneath his neatly trimmed mustache. Peter had met Chief Nick before when he visited his school last year to teach them about fire safety, and he remembered how kind and funny the chief had been. "There's my special guest," Chief Nick called out as they got out of the van. Gracie gave an excited bark and wagged her tail even faster, making Peter giggle. She loved meeting new people almost as much as she loved chasing squirrels in the backyard. "Good morning, Chief Nick," Peter said, trying his very best to sound grown up and professional. "Thank you for inviting us to tour the fire station." "Well, when your teacher told me about your amazing fire safety poster that won first prize in the contest, I knew we had to have you visit," Chief Nick said. He gave Peter a gentle pat on the shoulder. That poster showed real understanding of fire safety, especially the part about having a designated meeting place for the whole family, including your pets. He smiled down at Gracie. "And who's this beautiful pup?" "This is Gracie," Peter said proudly. "She's an American Eskimo dog, and she's the best dog in the whole world. She's really smart, too. We've been practicing our home fire escape plan together, and she knows exactly where to go when we have our drills." "Is that so?" Chief Nick looked impressed. "Well, it's very nice to meet you both." He bent down to let Gracie sniff his hand, and she gave it a gentle lick of approval. "Now, who's ready to see what it's like to be a real firefighter?" "Me!" Peter jumped up and down, unable to contain his excitement any longer. Gracie joined in, bouncing around in circles, her white fur fluffing up like a cloud. The inside of the fire station was even more impressive than Peter had imagined. The floors were spotlessly clean, and the walls were decorated with photos of firefighters in action, safety posters, and various awards the department had received over the years. The air smelled of polish and leather, and a hint of something cooking from the kitchen. "First things first," Chief Nick said, leading into what he called the gear room. "Every firefighter needs the right equipment to stay safe." He walked them over to a row of hooks where the firefighters' gear hung neatly in order. The heavy coats and pants had reflective stripes, and they looked like suits of armor to Peter's eyes. "These are our turnout suits," Chief Nick explained, running his hand along one of the coats. "They're made of special materials that protect us from heat and keep us safe when we're fighting fires. Each suit has multiple layers, an outer shell that's fire-resistant, a moisture barrier, and a thermal liner. Together, they keep us safe in temperatures that would otherwise be very dangerous." Peter listened intently, fascinated by every detail. Even Gracie seemed interested, sniffing the boots that stood beneath each suit. "Would you like to try one on?" Chief Nick asked. He pulled a child-sized fighter jacket from a nearby shelf. "We keep a few smaller ones for our special guests." Peter's eyes went wide as saucers. "Really? Can I?" Of course. Chief Nick helped Peter slip his arms into the jacket. It was heavier than Peter expected, but it made him feel like a real firefighter. Gracie circled around him, sniffing the new garment with great interest. "The jacket is heavy because it needs to protect us," Chief Nick said. "Real firefighter gear can weigh up to 75 pounds when you include everything, the air tanks, the tools, and other equipment we carry. That's why we have to stay in good shape and exercise regularly." As if on cue, they heard footsteps coming down the stairs, and 2 firefighters appeared in their workout clothes, heading to the station's small gym. They waved at Peter and Gracie, and one of them called out, "Looking good, rookie." Peter beamed at being called a rookie. It made him feel like he was already part of the team. The tour continued through different areas of the station. Chief Nick showed them the kitchen and dining area, where firefighters took turns cooking for the crew. "We live here during our shifts," he said. "Sometimes we're here for 24 hours at a time, so we need to make it feel like home." The kitchen was warm and inviting, with a large table where the firefighters ate together. A firefighter named Rose was preparing lunch, and the smell of cooking chili filled the air, making Peter's stomach rumble despite just having eaten breakfast. Gracie's nose worked overtime, taking in all the new scents. "This is where we eat and rest between calls. Sometimes we have to wake up in the middle of the night to help people, so we need to be ready all the time." "Do you really slide down that pole?" Peter said, pointing to the shiny brass pole that connected the upper floor to the garage. It gleamed in the lighting, looking both exciting and a little scary. Chief Nick laughed. "We sure do. It's the fastest way to get downstairs when we have an emergency call. When the alarm goes off, every second counts. Would you like to see how our alarm system works?" Peter nodded eagerly, and Chief Nick led them to the dispatch center. It was filled with computers and radios and maps. A dispatcher named Sarah showed Peter how they received emergency calls and communicated with the firefighters. "This is like the heart of the fire station," Sarah said, showing Peter the different screens and equipment. "When someone calls 911 for a fire emergency, the call comes through here. We gather all the important information and then alert the firefighters about what kind of an emergency it is and where they need to go." "Want to hear what happens when we get a call?" Sarah asked with a twinkle in her eye. After getting an okay from Mom, she pressed a button, and suddenly the station came alive with lights and sounds. The alarm echoed through the building. Gracie's ears shot straight up, and she gave a surprised bark at the noise. Peter jumped too, but Chief Nick's steady hand on his shoulder kept him calm. "That's what we hear when there's an emergency," Chief Nick explained as Sarah turned off the alarm. "We have to be ready to go at a moment's notice." "Speaking of being ready," he grinned, "who wants to see the fire trucks?" "Me!" Peter practically shouted, and Gracie barked in agreement. 3 fire trucks stood in a row, their red paint gleaming under the fluorescent lights. Peter had seen fire trucks before, of course, but never this close. They were even bigger than he imagined. "This is Engine," Chief Nick said, patting the front of the nearest truck. "She's our newest truck, and she carries lots of water, along with all sorts of equipment we need to fight fires. We also have our ladder truck and our rescue truck, each with its own special equipment for different types of emergencies." Peter walked around the engine in awe, taking in every detail. The huge wheels were taller than he was, and the cab sat way up. The sides of the truck had compartments filled with hoses and tools and equipment, all organized perfectly, so firefighters could find what they needed quickly. Gracie trotted alongside, equally fascinated by the magnificent machine. "Would you like to sit in it?" Chief Nick asked. Peter's jaw dropped. "Really? Can we?" "Of course. That's why you're here." Chief Nick opened the passenger door and helped Peter climb up into the cab. It was like climbing a mountain. And once Peter was settled, Chief Nick carefully lifted Gracie up too, placing her next to Peter in the cab. The inside of the fire truck was amazing. There was all sorts of gauges, buttons, and switches on the dashboard. The seats were made of thick black leather, and Peter could see everything through the huge windshield. It felt like being in the cockpit of a spaceship. "Now here's something special," Chief Nick said, climbing into the driver's seat. "Would you and Gracie like to go for a little ride?" Peter could hardly believe his ears. "Really? "Can we, Mom?" he called down to where his mother stood watching. "Of course, sweetheart," Mom replied with a smile. Chief Nick helped Peter and Gracie get buckled in and then started the engine. The huge truck rumbled to life, and Peter could feel the vibration through his whole body. Gracie's tail was wagging so fast it was just a white blur. "Ready for the best part?" Chief Nick asked with a grin. When Peter nodded, the chief reached up and flipped a switch, and suddenly the siren came to life, filling the air with its familiar whoop, whoop sound. Gracie tilted her head back and howled along with the siren, making Peter giggle. They drove through Dashwood, the siren calling out their presence to let everyone around know. People stopped to wave, and cars pulled over to let them pass. Peter felt like he was on top of the world, riding in a real fire truck with his best friend behind him and Chief Nick at the wheel. "In a real emergency," Chief Nick explained, "we use these lights and sirens to let people know we're coming. It's important for other drivers to pull over and let us pass safely so we can get into the emergency quickly. Every second counts when someone needs our help." Then Chief Nick turned off the siren and drove them back to the station. "Well, what did you think?" he asked as he helped them down from the truck. "That was the best thing ever," Peter said, jumping up and down with excitement. Gracie barked in agreement, her tail still wagging at top speed. "Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it," Chief Nick said with a warm smile. "But before you go, I have something else for you both." He walked over to his office and came back with 2 special gifts. For Peter, there was a junior firefighter badge and a real firefighter's helmet in child size. For Gracie, there was a red bandana with the Dashwood Fire Department logo on it. "Now you're both honorary members of the Dashwood Fire Department," Chief Nick declared as he helped tie the bandana around Gracie's neck and pin the badge on Peter's shirt. "Remember what we learned about fire safety, and maybe someday you'll be a real firefighter." Before they left, Chief Nick had one more important message to share. "Being a firefighter isn't just about riding around in big trucks and using sirens," he said. "It's about helping people and keeping our community safe. And that's why it's so important to learn about fire safety and practice it every day." That night, as Peter snuggled into bed with Gracie curled up at his feet, he thought about everything he'd learned that day. He thought about the brave firefighters who worked hard to keep everyone safe, and about all the ways he could help prevent fires at home. But most of all, he thought about how lucky he was to have a friend like Gracie to share all his adventures with, both big and small. As he drifted off to sleep, Peter dreamed of future adventures with his fluffy white sidekick, knowing whatever came their way, they'd face it together.
Peter and Gracie, the finest of friends, with tales of wonder that never end. In the pages of books or stars up above, they find their magic in laughter and love.
Ian Lindsay of Lindsay and Associates has played an active role in the local community since 1979. He has been with RE/MAX, Vancouver Island's most advanced real estate business network, since 1996, marketing and selling residential, rural, strata, recreational, investment, and project development real estate. Ian has received several awards recognizing his exceptional community commitment locally, as well as awards for outstanding performance and achievement from both RE/MAX International and the Vancouver Island Real Estate Board. You'll find true real estate professionals at ianlindsay.ca.